Revealed, how a touching note from a black waitress changed a billionaire CEO's life forever. The diner buzzed with life, every corner alive with laughter, shouting orders, and the comforting sizzle of the grill. Angela, a spirited black waitress in her early 30s, moved with grace under pressure, balancing trays laden with food while greeting each patron like family. Her smile felt like sunshine cutting through the bleakness of the struggling urban neighborhood outside. This was her world, and she loved every chaotic moment of it. With 2 kids at home, Simone and Jamal, Angela poured everything into her work, dreaming of a better life for them. One day, "I'll own a little cafe," she often murmured to her friends, her eyes sparkling with determination, despite being weary from long shifts. But inside that vibrant diner, hope thrived, fueled by the connections she forged over steaming cups of coffee and warm pie slices. Meanwhile, across the city, Bob Mitchell sat in his sleek high-rise office, surrounded by polished mahogany desks and glass walls that gave him a view of the skyline. A wealthy CEO in his late 40s, he projected confidence like armor, moving from one high-stakes meeting to the next. Yet, beneath that cold veneer, a void gnawed at him. The laughter of his children was but a distant memory, overshadowed by the demands of his empire. He felt lost, a lonely titan battling an emptiness that riches couldn't fill. It was on a fateful afternoon when Bob decided to break the monotony of his life. He found himself at Angela's diner, seeking a brief respite from his world of corporate chaos. As he stepped inside, the comforting aroma of home-cooked meals enveloped him. The laughter and chatter stirred something deep within his chest, long abandoned beneath layers of ambition and stress. Angela spotted him immediately, her warmth infectious as she approached. "Welcome. What can I get you today?" She beamed. As they conversed, a connection sparked between them. Angela spoke passionately about family, resilience, and what it meant to truly succeed beyond the confines of wealth. "Success is about love, not just money, Bob," she insisted, her eyes piercing through the barriers he'd built. With each word, she painted a picture of community and connection that melted his icy facade. Before Bob left, Angela slipped a note into his coat pocket, a simple thank you, but it carried deeper sentiments of hope for him. "May you find joy in the ordinary," it read. Later, the note touched Bob's heart, a revelation unfolding within him. He could feel it, a realignment of priorities starting to take shape. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. That night, as Bob grappled with the weight of his success, a family crisis erupted, an issue that forced him to confront the neglected roots he'd buried under a mountain of wealth. Driven by Angela's wisdom, he envisioned a community project that could uplift her neighborhood. But powerful corporate executives rallied against him, warning of the repercussions of shifting focus from profit to people. In the storm of conflicts, the choice became clear. Bob felt Angela's spirit urging him on, illuminating the path that led back to what truly mattered. Would he stand up for the values she instilled in him, or would he retreat to the comfort of his old life? The stakes rose, and the air thrummed with tension. Could a simple note from a waitress really change everything? Or was it just a fleeting moment in a world quick to forget the power of connection? The following day, Bob sat at his desk, staring out at the sprawling city below, but his mind was elsewhere. Angela's words echoed in his ears: "Success is about love, not just money." He shifted uneasily in his chair. This couldn't just be a moment of inspiration, it needed to be a call to action. With a sudden resolve, he grabbed his phone and called his assistant. "Schedule a meeting with the board for this week. I want to discuss a new initiative focused on community development." The response was mixed. Some voiced skepticism, questioning the potential impact on the company's profits. Yet others, surprisingly, warmed to his idea, envisioning a partnership that could create a bridge between his corporation and the very community they operated within. It was an unexpected but uplifting shift among his colleagues. Over the next few days, the conversations grew more passionate, fueling Bob's spirit further. Then, he struck a hesitant balance between his corporate obligations and the vision inspired by Angela. He decided to visit the diner again, wanting more than just a fleeting connection. The moment he entered, the familiar buzz enveloped him like a warm blanket. Each booth filled with laughter felt like a reminder of everything he longed for: connectedness and joy. Angela was busy but noticed him almost immediately. Their eyes met, and she offered the same welcoming smile. "Back again? I didn't scare you off?" He chuckled, shaking his head. "Not at all. I've been thinking a lot." "About what?" she asked, wiping her hands on her apron, genuine curiosity lighting her features. "About changing things. Community things. I want to help." Angela's gaze locked onto his, surprise mingling with hope. "Help how?" "This community could sure use a little light." With a deep breath, he explained his vision of opening resources, rebuilding parks, funding after-school programs, and providing job opportunities for local residents. As he spoke, the spark in Angela's eyes ignited a fire in his own heart. "That's amazing!" she exclaimed. "All we need is someone willing to step up and push for it." "But it won't be easy, Bob. I've never backed down from a challenge," he replied, the confidence in his voice stronger than he felt inside. "But I need your help. Can you rally your neighbors, get their input? We can't do this without their support." Angela nodded, excitement bubbling over. "You've got it. This is exactly what we need. But you need to be prepared. Not everyone's going to welcome a billionaire in their midst, you know." He winced slightly, the reality hitting hard. "I get it. But I have to try. For myself, for you, and for the kids." As they discussed plans, Angela's enthusiasm fueled his own. The diner felt right. They shared stories, laughter, and aspirations that moved beyond transactional borders. He could feel a change deep within himself as the burdens of greed and loneliness lifted, revealing a clearer path toward purpose, but underneath the joy was an undercurrent of uncertainty. Bob knew the backlash could be severe, not just from some in his corporate world but from potential threats in the neighborhood resistant to change. Would the risks shadow his efforts to genuinely connect? Later that evening, Bob returned home, feeling lighter yet more anxious than ever. Just before bed, he glanced at the note Angela had given him, its presence now a powerful token of connection and courage. "May you find joy in the ordinary." He took a deep breath, the words settling within him. If he truly wanted to make a difference, he needed to prepare for the resistance ahead. He took one last look at the skyline from his window, a mixture of hope and fear swelling within him. The next morning, he approached the dilemma with fresh determination, drawing from Angela's belief in community and connection. But would he have the strength to stand his ground when faced with disappointment? As he stepped into the day, a message pinged on his phone. It was from an anonymous source, warning him to abandon the project before it escalated. Bob's heart raced. Who was threatening him? And what did they know? The real challenge was just beginning. The morning light illuminated the room as Bob stared blankly at his phone, the warning still fresh in his mind. Who sent the message? What kind of influence could they have over his plans? A wave of apprehension washed over him. Yet, buried deep beneath that fear was an ember of determination igniting that he needed to meet with Angela as soon as possible. She was the heartbeat of the community, and together, they could navigate whatever storms might come. He rushed to the diner, the city flashing by outside the window. Each traffic light felt like a countdown to something momentous. As he entered the familiar space, the smell of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon enveloped him. Angela was at the counter, taking orders with her usual warmth, but he noticed a hint of stress etching her features when she saw him. "Bob," she greeted, her smile faltering slightly as she wiped her hands on her apron. "Everything okay? Is it too crazy in here?" he asked, a tense edge creeping into his voice. "Just the usual morning rush." She motioned to a table in the corner where they could talk privately. As they sat, he could see the blurry chaos of patrons getting their morning coffee but only felt the charged atmosphere building between them. "Did you get the message?" he blurted. Angela's eyes widened. "What message?" "I got a warning, from someone anonymous, telling me to abandon the project." It felt hostile. "I'm worried it's a sign we're stepping into something dangerous." Her brow furrowed in concern. "That's not good. But you can't let fear stop you. You're really going to stand for this, right?" "I want to," he said, his voice almost trembling. "But I don't want to disrupt what's already there. I can't just march in with plans. If I'm not welcomed, I could actually make things worse, Angela." "Bob, change is hard for everyone. It's a fight, and sometimes people hit back when they feel threatened. I mean, look at me. I've had my share of battles," she said quietly, tapping her fingers nervously against the table. His mind raced, contemplating her words. He thought of her life, the community, the challenges they faced every single day. Bob felt a surge of admiration and remorse. Here she was, a beacon of light shining through adversity while he, sheltered in luxury, sought to bring aid to a place without truly understanding it. "I want to help. I really do," he said earnestly. "But I also want to learn." "What do they want? What do you want?" "I need your input, Angela. You understand the heart of this community better than I ever could." Angela's demeanor shifted, her determination sparkling in her eyes. "Then let us organize a meeting. We'll invite everyone. You need to listen. If you open your heart to them, they might open theirs to you." The thought thrilled him, but fear lingered like a shadow. "You really think that will work?" "I know it will. But it's your turn to be vulnerable. It's not just a project, it's about real lives." As they mapped out the plans, Bob felt the weight of uncertainty begin to lift. Despite the threats looming over him, he sensed a fierce hope for the community and for himself. It would take work and courage, but working alongside Angela filled him with a renewed purpose. Later, as they walked out into the busyness of the day, an unexpected sense of camaraderie blossomed between them. Bob turned to Angela, a fire ignited within, wanting to share more. Just then, a familiar face emerged from the crowd, a man he recognized from the neighborhood, anger etched across his features. "Watch your back, Billionaire!" the man shouted, anger bubbling beneath the surface. Bob's heart raced, the heaviness of impending conflict crashing down. As he looked at Angela, uncertainty clouded his mind. Would this be a true beginning or a harsh end? The stakes had never felt higher, and Bob knew the next steps would be vital. Would he prove his sincerity, or was he stepping into a war he wasn't ready to fight? The harsh words of the man sliced through the chatter, like a sudden storm in a calm sea. Bob's heartbeat quickened, each thump echoing in his ears. He met Angela's gaze, searching for reassurance, but all he saw was the same mixture of concern and determination reflected back at him. "Let us get out of here," she said, already moving toward the door. Bob followed closely, adrenaline pulsing through him. As they stepped outside, the world felt different, heavy with tension. The strange man had vanished back into the crowd, leaving behind a ripple of unease. "Do you know him?" Bob asked, his voice low, almost afraid to break the fragile silence. Angela shook her head, her eyes scanning the street, wary. "He's been around before. Not everyone here is going to welcome you with open arms. Just remember that." Bob nodded, feeling the weight of her words settle into him. "I guess I need to show them I'm not here to take, but to help." Angela placed a hand on his arm. "And you will. But only if you keep listening, keep your heart open." You have to understand what they're feeling, what they need. His mind raced as possibilities flooded in. He thought back to where they sat in the diner, planning the meeting. Would anyone even show up after a warning like that? The lingering hostility loomed over him like a thundercloud. Where do we even start? He murmured, feeling lost in the enormity of the task ahead. We'll hold that meeting as planned. But let us pick a neutral place, a community center or a park. Somewhere familiar for everyone, she suggested. Bob's chest tightened. What if no one trusts me? What if they just see me as a threat? Then you'll have to earn their trust. It won't be easy, but you're not alone. You have me. Remember how I started here? A lot of people didn't think I belonged. But I stood strong, and they saw me for who I was. You have that chance now, too. Her faith in him sparked a flicker of hope, and he felt buoyed by it. But the specter of fear still loomed, whispering doubts. What if this was the start of something terrible? As they walked on, Bob replayed the multitude of faces he had seen at the diner, the laughter and warmth, now shaded by the threat of anger. Could he possibly connect with them? They approached a small park where children played, laughter ringing out as parents watched from nearby benches. In the middle of the chaos, a group sat under a tree, sharing stories, and sipping lemonade. Bob noticed a few familiar faces from the diner among them. What if we could meet them? He suggested, his voice catching the fresh scent of possibility in the air. Yes, but remember, patience. This is a process, Angela warned, but a smile danced on her lips. Let us talk to them. Just don't charge in like you own the place, okay? Be real. Be real. The words echoed in his mind as they walked toward the group, each step feeling heavier than the last. Did he have what it took to be real? To strip away the layers of luxury and show them his true self? As they approached, an uneasy silence fell over the small gathering. All eyes turned toward him, darting with suspicion. Bob's heart raced, the stakes now crystal clear. Hi everyone, he managed to say, clearing his throat. I'm Bob. Then, just as he began to talk, a woman from the group stepped forward, her expression intense and unreadable. Why should we listen to you? She demanded, her voice steady like steel. The question hung in the air, a challenge that resonated deep within him. Bob felt the weight of the moment, a crossroads leading to change or rejection. Would he rise to meet their needs? His stomach churned, and he took a breath, ready to open his heart to them, ready to change everything. But what if they weren't ready to listen? Bob's fingers trembled slightly as he searched for the right words. He felt Angela's presence beside him, a steady anchor in the storm of uncertainty. Because I'm here to listen, he finally said, trying to keep his voice steady. I know I come from a different world, but I want to learn. I want to understand what you're going through. A murmur rippled through the group, some exchanged skeptical glances, while others seemed intrigued. The intense woman held her ground. You think you can just waltz in and understand our struggles? You don't know what it's like. No, I don't, he admitted, his heart pounding harder. But I'm willing to try. I came here because I believe change is possible, and I think it starts with conversations like this. Another member of the group, a tall man with a deep frown, stepped forward. Talk is cheap, rich guy. What are you really offering? You can't just drop in with empty promises. Bob swallowed, thinking of his own life and struggles that felt insignificant compared to the hardships they faced. The truth was, he had never truly known their reality. Somehow, he needed to convey that he understood the importance of action over words. If I only talk, then I won't make any difference, he said, his voice rising with determination. But let us dive into it. What does it mean to be supported? How can I be part of it? Angela's grip on his arm tightened reassuringly. He could feel that they needed him to break through the wall of distrust. He took a small step forward, as if hoping it would show his sincerity. What about the community center? One woman finally asked, her tone softer now but still probing. "If you really want to help, how about starting there?" "Yes," Angela chimed in, seizing the opening. "We can look at the programs that have been discontinued. Volunteer programs, after-school activities, anything. We want to see what's missing and how Bob can assist." The air shifted, the tension easing just a fraction. Bob could sense a flicker of interest from some of them, no longer simply bound by skepticism. But he knew they needed more tangible proof of his intentions. "I can organize a fundraiser," he blurted out, then immediately felt a pang of anxiety. "I mean, to support activities for the kids to repair things that need fixing. It doesn't have to be just about the money. I can get people involved, raise awareness, and make a real impact." The woman who had initially challenged him seemed to reconsider, tapping her foot, judging him closely. "You think that's enough? Money fixes everything?" "Of course not," he replied earnestly, trying to meet her gaze. "But I can bring people together. I live in a different world, but I want to build something with you all." The group exchanged glances again, an unspoken conversation happening between them. Bob felt the weight of their scrutiny, every second ticking by like a countdown to acceptance or rejection. Finally, the woman spoke again, her tone softer. "You want to be real? Then show us what you can do. Prove that you aren't just passing through." Bob nodded, relief flooding over him. "I promise, I will. Just give me a chance." A hint of hope blossomed between them, but doubt still lingered in the air. What if this chance slipped through his fingers? As he took a step back, he caught the eyes of the children playing nearby, their laughter bright against the backdrop of uncertainty. He could feel a change was possible, something within him igniting, but would the group find the courage to trust him? Could his efforts actually heal some of the divides? As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky with golden hues, Bob knew he had a long road ahead, and that first step was just the beginning. "Let us meet again," he suggested, heart pounding with urgency. "Let us keep this conversation going." But the look on the woman's face suggested that his journey was far from over. Would they truly engage? Would they let him in? The real test was yet to come. Bob left the gathering feeling lighter yet burdened. The weight of their eyes was still heavy on his heart. He glanced back over his shoulder, half expecting the woman he had spoken to call him back, to give him another chance, or even one last challenge. Instead, they were breaking apart, some trading cautious smiles, others still frowning. Each expression pulled at him in different directions. Was he making the right choice? Angela walked beside him, silent for a moment, gauging his thoughts. "You did well." "Did I?" His voice cracked slightly. "I felt like I was just stumbling through a minefield. What if they don't believe me? What if they think I'm just some rich guy trying to save the day?" She paused, and when she finally spoke, her words flowed like a gentle river. "You're not saving anyone, Bob. You're building a bridge. They don't want a superhero. They want someone real. Trustworthy." He nodded, but doubt lingered in the corners of his mind. The next few days would be critical, and he knew he had to keep the momentum. They needed a plan. When he returned to work, the familiar walls of his office felt suffocating. His life in that glossy corporate world seemed so detached from what he had just experienced. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the large windows overlooking the city skyline, all shiny and bright. But the visions of laughter and worry from the community center danced in front of him. He couldn't shake how their struggles felt more urgent than the quarterly profits calculated in his reports. That evening, he spread out post-its on his kitchen table, scribbling down ideas for the fundraiser. His fingers moved quickly as he envisioned events, barbecues, community fairs, raffles, and talent shows. He wanted this to be something they could own. Something that wasn't just about his money but brought everyone together. His phone buzzed, breaking his thoughts. It was Angela, asking to meet to discuss plans. He felt a rush of excitement. She had become a guiding force he never knew he needed. "Meet me at the old diner," she texted, and he could almost hear the clatter of silverware and the sizzling grill in his mind. They had discussed that place before, a cornerstone of the community, where stories were shared over greasy burgers and milkshakes. It felt fitting. When Bob arrived, he was greeted by the worn booths and the aroma of comfort food, but something caught his eye, a framed note on the wall beside the counter. He walked over, curious. It was a letter written by a waitress, noting how hard it was to make ends meet. She shared her dreams of returning to school, of wanting something better for her kids. "Hope is a powerful thing," Angela said softly just behind him. He hadn't even noticed her arrive, but the twinkle in her eyes spoke volumes. Bob's heart raced as he read the letter aloud. "Look at this. Someone bare their soul for the whole world to see. This is what I need to do for them." Angela smiled, but it was a knowing smile, not one of surprise. "Exactly. If they trust you, they'll share their struggles like this woman did. That's when the real work starts." A sense of urgency swelled within him as he stared deep into her eyes. "We need to gather their stories. Let us share them, show everyone the truth of what this community faces." As they brainstormed, a vision of hope began to form. But underneath the excitement lay a thread of fear. What if no one connected to those stories? What if they remained invisible? With determination, they sketched out a plan to host a gathering at the community center, a night to share struggles and strengths. They would invite everyone, not just to listen but to take part, to bridge gaps, yet somewhere in the back of his mind, nagging doubts continued to simmer. Would their stories spark the change he hoped for? Could vulnerability really lead to action? As they wrapped up for the night, Bob's heart was racing with anticipation, but he knew the next steps would either build him up or break him down. Could he truly make a difference? Tomorrow, the community would meet again. And he would finally begin unveiling the depths of their reality. Would he be ready to face the truth? The sun peeked through the clouds the next morning, casting a warm glow that felt almost like an invitation. Bob felt the anticipation buzzing in his veins, a mix of eagerness and dread as he made his way back to the community center. The faint sounds of laughter and bustling voices filled the air as he approached the doors, each sound a reminder of the life pulsating within these walls. Inside, the room was filled with round tables draped in colorful tablecloths, each one adorned with simple centerpieces, flowers picked from backyards and hand-drawn signs welcoming everyone. Bob took a deep breath, absorbing the scene. The energy was infectious, but as he scanned the crowd, his heart fluttered with uncertainty. Were they ready to share their stories? Angela arrived moments later, her eyes sparkling with the fire of determination. "Hey! It looks amazing!" she exclaimed, taking in the vibrant space. "It does, doesn't it?" Bob replied, hoping to reflect her excitement. But as he glanced around, his mind raced with doubts. "Do you think we'll get enough people to come?" He hesitated, his thoughts swirling. "What if only a few show up?" "Then we keep going," Angela said firmly. "It's about persistence, not perfection." She squeezed his arm, her confidence a lifeline. As people began to filter in, Bob felt the weight of their eyes again. This time, though, it felt different. They weren't scrutinizing him, they were searching for connection. He spotted a familiar face, a grandmother carrying a small child on her hip, her brown eyes likely holding untold stories. A group of teens walked in, joking and laughing, the brightness in their eyes piercing through Bob's jitters. "Welcome!" Bob called out, stepping forward as he gathered his thoughts. "Thank you for being here. Tonight, we're here to listen, to share, and to find a way to bridge the gaps between us." The room was quiet, the anticipation thick. One by one, they began to share their truths. Some expressed hope, some voiced frustration, while others simply reminded everyone why they had gathered in the first place. A single mother spoke about juggling jobs while trying to support 2 children. An older man shared tales of his youth, dreams deferred, yet still flickering with hope for future generations. With each story, Bob felt something within him shift, a mix of awe and responsibility. Their voices became a tapestry woven with threads of struggle, resilience, and dreams stitched tightly together. "Why is this so important to you?" a young woman suddenly asked, breaking the rhythm of stories. She looked straight at Bob, and he felt the weight of her question. For a moment, silence enveloped the room. Bob's heart raced as he reflected on why this truly mattered. Because, he paused, searching for the right words, these stories are the heart of this community. They remind me that we all have struggles, and it's only in sharing them that we can understand one another. I'm here to learn. To listen. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and he felt a sense of unity building, a realization that flooded in like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. But just as they were gathering steam, the door creaked open. An uninvited figure slipped inside, an aura of discomfort following him. Bob's stomach sank. It was someone from his past, an old colleague who represented everything he had been trying to escape. Would this person undermine the fragile trust he was beginning to build? Bob's heart raced, a wave of tension crashing over the gathering. Could this complicate everything? What if this encounter threatened the very connection they were forging? As the figure approached, uncertainty radiated in the room. Bob could feel everyone's gaze shifting, their curiosity mixed with concern. It felt as if the very fabric of the night was about to unravel. Would Bob stand strong against the threat from his past? Could he hold the space for the stories that mattered most? The moment hung in the air, charged with unspoken consequences. Bob's breath caught in his throat as he took in the familiar face. Mark. It had been years since they had seen each other, but the memories flooded back. They were colleagues once, but their paths diverged sharply. Mark was cutthroat, always chasing accolades, while Bob had carved his way to something more meaningful, but that was a past Bob wanted to leave behind. "Bob," Mark said, voice smooth like silk. He wore an easy smile that felt more like an intrusion than a welcome. "I heard you were doing something important here. Mind if I join in?" The crowd shifted, murmurs rippling through the room. Angela shot Bob a worried glance, sensing the tension radiating from him. The warmth that had filled the gathering moments before was now replaced with an undercurrent of apprehension. Sure," Bob managed, forcing a smile while his insides twisted. "We're just sharing stories. Everyone has something to say." Mark took a seat, and the atmosphere quivered. Bob could sense the eyes of the room shifting back and forth between him and Mark, anticipation mingling with uncertainty. He felt like a tightrope walker balancing on a thin line above a pit of doubts. "Great," Mark replied, leaning back comfortably in his chair. "I'd love to hear what everyone's been up to." Bob swallowed hard, trying to shake off the sensation that Mark's presence was a shadow looming over what was meant to be open and genuine. He focused on the others, urging them to continue sharing their narratives. But his thoughts kept flickering back to Mark, uncertainty gnawing at him. As a young man shared his story about battling addiction, tears glistened in his eyes. Bob felt the weight of that vulnerability, the raw honesty flowing through the air. He wanted to cultivate that same openness in the room, yet Mark's presence felt like a clamp on the atmosphere, draining some of that precious energy. "Addiction is a hard beast," the young man said, his voice breaking. "But I'm changing my life. I refuse to be another statistic." Bob felt the pull of resilience in those words, a reminder of why he started this gathering. It was about the stories that mattered. Mark raised an eyebrow, looking at the young man as if analyzing a business model. "Changing your life is great, but it's all about the network you build," he interjected, glancing at Bob as if trying to provoke him into a response. Bob clenched his fists under the table. He could feel the eyes of the group narrowing on him, waiting for a reaction. Should he confront Mark? Should he let this go? "Networking is important," Bob said slowly, forcing each word out carefully. "But sometimes, it's more about the connections we make through empathy and shared experiences." The room shifted again, an electric pulse as the crowd absorbed his words. Bob could sense a collective understanding forming. Angela nodded, her eyes shining with appreciation. Exactly. It's about recognizing the humanity in each other. Mark fell silent, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. Bob felt a rush of satisfaction. It was a small victory, but it was something. And it ignited a fire inside him. He could reclaim this space, he could hold on to the warmth that had begun to blossom again. As the evening wore on, more people shared their stories, and the focus shifted away from Mark. With each voice, the atmosphere reclaimed its brilliance, the light of understanding breaking through the clouds of doubt, but as the gathering drew to a close, Bob caught Mark's eye. There was an intensity there, a challenge that hadn't faded. Would Mark let go? Or was this just the beginning of a confrontation that Bob never wanted? He felt a flutter of concern, knowing that the fabric of this community, this fragile tapestry of stories, might yet face a test he hadn't seen coming. Will the past overshadow our future? Bob wondered, trying to quiet his racing heart. The door creaked slightly behind Mark, a reminder of the delicate balance they were each trying to maintain. As Bob's heart quickened, he realized one thing clearly: the challenge was far from over. The final words of the gathering hung in the air like mist, heavy and uncertain. Bob's heart pounded beneath his shirt as the last of the stories faded into a thoughtful silence. The crowd dispersed slowly, but Bob found himself rooted in place, fixated on Mark, who stood up, stretching like a lion ready to pounce. "Interesting crowd you've got here, Bob," Mark said, his smile still in place but not reaching his eyes. "Quite the emotional ride, huh?" Bob forced a chuckle, the sound hollow in his ears. "Yeah, it's different." How could he explain the sense of community growing from vulnerability? It seemed futile, especially with Mark looming over him like a dark cloud. "What are you really doing here?" Mark leaned in slightly, lowering his voice, and Bob caught the hint of a challenge. "Is this genuinely about healing, or are you just trying to put your own past to rest?" That question cut deep. Bob's hands gripped the table, his knuckles turning white. He could feel Angela's eyes burning into his back, urging him to speak, to resist the tight knot of fear that coiled inside him. "Look, Mark," he said, taking a breath that tasted of courage. "What we're building here matters. It's about people sharing real experiences. It's different from the games you play." Mark's smile faded into a scowl. "Games? You think I play games? I build connections that matter. My network is my strength." Bob felt a rush of indignation rise in him. "And what kind of connections are those? Ones based on fear and competition? I'm choosing a way that allows us to be vulnerable." A murmur rippled through the remaining group members. They hung back, listening, their unease palpable. "You think being vulnerable is a strength? It leaves you exposed." Mark's eyes narrowed as he searched Bob's face, looking for cracks, weakness. "Being real is a strength, Mark," Angela interjected, stepping forward as if to shield Bob from Mark's presence. "We're not here to tear each other down but to lift each other up. Maybe you could learn something from that." Bob felt a swell of admiration for her, but the unease remained. The tension felt like a stretch of taut wire, ready to snap. Mark straightened, intrigued but unfazed. "Maybe I could. But let us be real here, once the novelty of sharing stories wears off, what do you think will remain? Are you even equipped to sustain this?" A silence fell. Bob's heart raced anew, uncertainty prickling at his skin. What if Mark was right? What if this gathering was merely a fleeting moment, an oasis in a desert of desperation? "Bob," Angela whispered, drawing nearer. "Don't let him shake your resolve. You believe in this, and so do we." Bob looked around the room, meeting the eyes of those who had opened up. He felt the pulse of their shared courage. It was raw and real, a light shining in dark places. "Mark, I won't let you intimidate me," Bob declared, his voice steady. "We are stronger together. Every story shared here builds something greater than any network could configure. Mark's face twisted in anger, but beneath it, there was an unsettling recognition. Bob could see that his challenge had landed, planting a seed of doubt in Mark's confident faade. Mark's lips pressed into a thin line. He took a step back, his posture shifting from aggressive to contemplative. "We'll see about that," he said finally, before turning and striding away. The room exhaled collectively, tension dissipating as everyone exchanged looks of relief. Bob breathed deeply, the weight on his chest lifting as if a storm had passed, but beneath that relief, something simmered. Bob couldn't shake off the feeling that this encounter was just the beginning. Mark's departure felt like a temporary lull before something more significant. "What does this mean for us moving forward?" Bob asked, looking from Angela to the others. The air was thick, charged with unanswered questions. As they gathered in a close circle, Bob couldn't help but wonder, would their shared journey truly withstand the test of time, or was a greater storm brewing just on the horizon? The weeks rolled on, threading together stories and building connections that Bob had once feared were impossible. One evening, as the golden sun dipped low, smearing the sky with color, Bob entered the community center for another gathering. Familiar faces lit up at his arrival. Hopeful gazes met him. This was no longer just a meeting, it had transformed into a family affair. As they settled in, Bob could feel it. The anticipation crackled in the air, this time with excitement rather than tension. Angela beamed next to him, her infectious energy setting everyone at ease as they prepared to share their experiences and ideas. "Tonight, I want to celebrate the strength we've built together," he announced, his voice echoing with newfound confidence. "This isn't just about helping, it's about all of us rising together." The crowd erupted in applause, their encouragement washing over him like a warm embrace. In that moment, Bob realized the fear had melted away. He was finally where he belonged. People shared stories about the progress they were making. A single mother now found a steady job thanks to the resume workshops they had held together. Another participant announced a neighborhood cleanup initiative born from the shared energy in their discussions. Bob's heart swelled as he listened, drinking in every ounce of transformation sparked by their collective courage. As the meeting wound down, he turned to Angela, gratitude spilling from him. "I couldn't have done this without you," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "You showed me how to listen, how to embrace vulnerability. Thank you for believing." Angela's smile illuminated her face. "You did this, Bob. You brought a light into this place. You kept pushing even when doubts crept in. That's strength." Before he could respond, a familiar figure stepped into the doorway. Mark. Tension twisted in Bob's stomach, but he didn't shy away. Instead, he approached, determination solidifying his stride. "Mark," he greeted, masking his apprehension beneath a calm veneer. "We were just talking about what this community means to us." "Interesting how things have turned around for you," Mark replied, eyeing the gathering with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. "Family dinners over board meetings, huh?" Bob shrugged. "Like you said, it's all about the connections we build. Only these connections are built on trust." Mark's eyebrows arched slightly, surprise washing over his face. "Trust? In this world? It's easy to be cynical, Bob. Where's the profit in caring?" Bob felt the warmth of the room against him, the strength of optimism humming in the air. Memories of shared stories and dreams filled him. He forced himself to breathe, speaking with conviction. "The profit is in lifting one another up. We've seen lives change through understanding. This is how we build a better future. Imagine being part of that." Mark stepped closer. Bob sensed the weight of his doubt radiating. "You really think you can change things? You'll get burnt. People don't easily forget their struggles." "True," Bob countered, unwavering. "But this isn't about forgetfulness. It's about remembering together and using that to forge new paths forward. It's about resilience. You could be a part of that, Mark." For an instant, Bob caught a flicker of something in Mark's eyes. Was it interest or fear? He couldn't tell. "I'm not sure the world works that way," Mark replied, a hint of vulnerability breaking through. "Maybe it should," Bob offered gently. "Maybe there's a need for people like us who haven't forgotten how to care." The tension shifted in the air. Bob sensed the community watching, the weight of their collective hope surrounding them like a comforting blanket. "Change is never easy," Mark admitted finally, voice softening. "But maybe it's worth exploring." The crowd held its breath as anticipation rippled through them. Bob watched as Mark hesitated, then turned back to the doorway, uncertainty trailing behind him. "Let me think about it," Mark said, and with that, he left, leaving an air of possibilities behind. "Wow," Angela breathed beside Bob. "I think he might actually be considering it." With renewed energy spilling into the room, Bob grinned at the crowd. Together, they could face anything. As conversations buzzed, an unexpected weight lifted from Bob's shoulders. The path ahead may be rocky, but beside Angela, surrounded by the support of a community that had shown him so much, he felt limitless. He understood now that their journey was not just about him. It was a shared experience, threads of hope sewing together lives. That night, as Bob drifted into a peaceful sleep, his mind danced with visions of a cafe, Angela's dream cafe filled with laughter, coffee, and connection. For the first time in years, he felt the ripples of optimism and joy coursing through him, more powerful than the emptiness he had lived in for so long. Together, they would pave the way to a future where every voice mattered, where every story was valued. A community, rising together. Don't wait. This is your moment. You need to subscribe now to make sure you don't miss our next exclusive stories, each one more inspiring than the last. Leave a like now to feed that algorithm. And comment your thoughts on this incredible transformation. You've got to share how this ending made you feel. Finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this. Change starts with us, and only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel. Don't wait not even one more second to share the journey.